Hello, folks. I'm Joe Wesley of Take Your Hot Seat Challenge. Are you prepared for it? I'd like to introduce our guest today.
Shani Vardy.
Right. As you
Hello.
see, hi. We do this live, and for those who are visiting us for the first time, welcome. For those who are coming back, thank you for doing that. We start a little bit early to get some background work out of the way. I like doing it live because it's not rehearsed, it's spontaneous. It's like keeping it real. And the purpose of this, for those who have interest for themselves, is there's a phrase in the industry talking about using your differentiator, or what is it? Discovering it. But I think the purest version of that is what I call your secret sauce. People may complicate, may duplicate, may merge with your differentiators, but they can never copy who you are, the person. So today, our guest is Shani Vardy. And what I'd like to do when I begin this, oh, before I forget, you can record this afterwards. There are people who may have downloaded this for different time. And we do ask if you have comments, and please share them. If you have questions, even more so, or criticism, please make comment because we do audit those comments. Please share this with your friends. And if you'd like to be a member of or a guest of the Hot Seat Challenge for your enhanced success discovery, please feel free to contact me, and the information included with the blurb on YouTube about what we're doing and why we're doing. So I'm going to start off, Shani, by asking you what I ask everybody who's my guest. What's your favorite pastime?
My favorite pastime. So it's it's not really a specific type of I can't put it into one sentence. Let's
No,
just say
we've got
per
time.
se. So just to dig a little deeper. So as a child, I had a turbulent childhood. So
Okay.
growing up, I was on a mission to find myself
Mm-hmm.
through all the noise and discover who I am. So I wasn't much into a hobby per se. It was more about digging deeper into myself.
Right.
And that might sound strange for a 15-year-old to think about or a 16-year-old to think about, but that's where I was in my mind back then.
Right.
And just kind of jumping forward a little bit when I was, turned 18 and I was able to just hop on a plane, that is what I did. I found that traveling and meeting people was a direct channel to finding out, or I should say, slowly finding out who I am. And that was by learning about other people on my journey.
Right.
So I lived in South Africa for many years. And I should say that was, the beginning to where, I owe it to that country really, or that place in my life
Mm-hmm.
that helped me find who I am. And we're still on this discovery as we get older and we grow in our life. But as a child, and, I still consider a 20-year-old or a 22-year-old in a way to be a child.
Mm-hmm.
And why I say it's a pastime, because I'm not so much right now on that mission to find myself, because I feel like I have already. And that was my pastime of getting to where I am today.
Right.
And just I've just gone through so many experiences, and I always had this say yes to everything. That
Mm-hmm.
was just say yes, just do
Right.
it, because by saying yes, that will open up a door to the next step. By saying no, you are limiting yourself. And of course, there's exceptions for all of that. But just as an example, we were taking a road trip up the east coast of South Africa, and we drove past a bungee bridge, and
Mm.
we stopped just to see everyone jumping off the bridge. And it was also like a sightseeing because it was right on the on the ocean, and it was like the sunset. It was just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking, and I said, you know what, we're here. When am I ever going to be in this spot ever again?
Mm.
I'm going bungee jumping.
Right.
And in that moment, I came to find out it was the highest bungee bridge in the world at the time. I can't speak for what it is today.
Right.
And I strapped up and I went bungee jumping. And it was the craziest thing I've ever done. It's something
Hmm.
that I will never do again, and I will not recommend doing it to any of the viewers.
All
Very
right.
scary, very dangerous. But the thing is, that's where I was in my life, that I had to experience these things to get to where I needed to be. I had to do scary things to not be afraid anymore.
Okay.
And that's where I was. And which has helped me today because my business, I have very difficult things that I should say, very difficult conversations that I have to have with people on a weekly basis with the nature of what I do.
I understand. Okay,
And
look, I'm going to interrupt. We'll get to your business in just a little bit, and I
yes,
understand that. It's some points you bring to me, and folks, I may have mentioned that or not. I take notes because I have an awful memory. So every now and then I'm looking down in the environment here. You talk about the fact that you started traveling because you were on a mission of self-discovery. Yes?
correct.
How did now? I'm not connecting the dots very well on this. How do you feel that the meeting other people was going to allow you to learn more about yourself?
Um, because it taught me A, to be open, non-judgmental, and I wasn't a judgmental person by any means, but I
Hmm.
feel like meeting people and hearing about their experiences in life because I would start talking to people and naturally the conversation would get deeper and deeper and we would start to connect on some level.
Right.
And it helped me understand that I wasn't the only person that perhaps had a rocky childhood or a rocky path. And I realized that there's other people out there all over the world that are experiencing crazy life situations. And I didn't feel alone
Hmm.
anymore. I was like, wow, like it doesn't matter where you come from, what language you speak. We all are going through the same.
Okay.
And that was one aspect of kind of opening up a channel of myself and being accepting also to other people and realizing that there's also people that have gone through really tough times, which also helped me understand that my situation at the time could be worse. And
Interesting. I'm going to ask a question or share an observation I'd like you to say yes or no to. Many people I know who travel, they want to do the sightseeing, they want to look around, and maybe it's the beach person raising the little finger for the next drink. Maybe it's the one that needs to climb mountainsides. I have no idea in terms of what the priorities may be. But it seems to me that you could go almost anywhere in your traveling. It was less the geography, more the interaction of people around you. Is that a reasonable?
absolutely. I mean,
Hmm.
you just hit it on the head. I mean, as much as I do value beautiful sights and I didn't want to travel to go sightseeing. It was
Hmm.
about meeting people, seeing how other people live, learning about different cultures. For example, when we were in South Africa, um, there was one day that we could have gone to a place called Victoria Falls, which is, these beautiful waterfalls, but I wanted to go to Soweto. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Soweto, but it's just a very poor spot, where people are extremely, extremely less fortunate. And I wanted to see how everyone lived. And we handed out candies to the kids. And I mean, that to me was
Hmm.
something that I was really important for me to see.
Hmm.
And I how do I say it? When everything in life, we have to learn something from it. We have to
Okay.
take something from it. That's how I feel.
Okay.
And I believe seeing and meeting other people we can learn so much from than going to see a waterfall. And again, I do appreciate beautiful views and I mean everyone knows that I'm a sucker for a sunset with
Hmm.
but that to me was more valuable than anything in the world.
Okay, that's interesting. The You made a comment earlier also that you consider, say, a 20-year-old was still a child in your eyes. Do you have what's the transition between childhood and adulthood in your mind?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I can only speak from my experience,
Right.
but I mean, looking back at 20-year-old me to 37-year-old me today,
Okay.
I think I was very lost, but still focused,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. I had a mission, I knew what I wanted to do, but in that moment, I was lost within
Okay.
myself. So I knew what I needed to do to get there, and it was a long road to get there.
Okay. So
Um,
you just made something say retrospective awareness.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's kind of interesting to think back to 20-year-old me to 37-year-old me because I look back and it's, there's so many similarities, but we're so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I would not be where I am today without the travel and the meeting
Okay.
of people. If I would, because I grew up in New York, for those that don't know, I grew up in Brooklyn. And
Mm-hmm.
although very diverse and cultural within itself, it was still a little bubble. And I
Right.
had to get out and
Mm-hmm.
see what was going on out there in the world. So, I mean, if I didn't get onto that plane and go, I would have 100% been a different person today. I mean, I don't even know if I would have even been sitting here because I met my husband in South Africa, and there's
Mm-hmm.
just so much that came out of that as well.
I hear that. Now, another question I have for you. I hate the word. I only have one more question of that phrase. Is that how did you choose South Africa? Was it you threw a dart, you got zapped by lightning? Was it eeny, meeny, miny, mo? How does that work?
So I was born in Johannesburg.
Okay.
My family immigrated here when I was about 5 years old.
Hmm.
And just to make an extremely long story short, when I was 19 years old, I had a longing to go back.
Mm.
Well, I should say 19 years old, I made that decision, but I I had this deep longing to go back to South Africa to find out where I came from because I had not been back since my family had immigrated.
Okay.
And that was also the start of my discovery. I wanted to start from the beginning. Where did I come from? What's going on? And I know I mean, listen, Joe, there's so much to my story that I
I
don't
hear
think
that.
we can cover this in the 30
We'll do a Star Wars series or something like that. Well, series 13 in 2.5 years or something. Now, you made a comment just a few moments ago that when you went back, that was the start of your discovery. I would suggest to you the start of your discovery is when you made the decision to go back and the things that led up to it. And it may not have been a conscious accumulation of issues, but so it's like a seedling that breaks ground. Granted, so the seed is above ground. You see it. You're in South Africa, but there's still some coordination phase. There's still some development phase to allow that seedling to grow. And you had alluded earlier in our dialogue that you're growing up as a young person, as a child, you had a turbulent, I'm assuming, somewhat turbulent childhood. So maybe the discovery was not yet formed or the awareness of discovery, but it seems as though the seed was increasingly becoming in place, ready or developing it to the stage of germinating and growing. Is that?
I mean, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I honestly am grateful for my childhood, although turbulent. I'm so grateful because I have been, I would say oh, I always had questions, and I've
Mm-hmm.
always been someone that needed answers to the questions that I've had. And
Okay.
through that, I grew to be somewhat of a fighter. So if I need something answered, or I want something, or just in life, I will not give up until I get things answered or closed up. There, any loose ends need to come together for me. I
Right.
guess I'm a little bit of an A-type personality, one would say.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's just I'm thankful for the upbringing that I had because if it was a perfect upbringing, I don't think I would be the fighter that I am today.
Fair enough. Thank you for that. For those who are new to our format, we spend the first in this half hour of moment, we spend generally the first, I say 20 minutes hearing what your favorite pastime story. And thank you for sharing that. Then we spend the last 10 minutes talking about your business, so that 30-minute cycle. Sometimes I feel I have sufficient information to transition to the business side. And I'm at that stage now through my observations. Would you share with people what you do?
I am a real estate agent here in Atlanta, Georgia,
Okay.
and I help buyers find homes and navigate them through the process because it's a very complicated process, as well as helping owners with the selling of their home,
Okay.
which
So
can
how
also
long
be
have
very
you,
complicated.
I hear that. When you say here in Georgia, how long have you been here for?
So we moved here at the end of 2018. It
Right.
was crazy. So I would say we're coming up
5
to
years.
5 years. Yeah.
Mhm. And so you were based in where again before you came here?
So I was living in Brooklyn
Okay. So a
in New
little bit of
York.
a change, I would think, from Brooklyn to Georgia,
A
yes?
huge change. I was
Mhm.
very familiar with Georgia because I have family here, and my grandparents, when they were alive, used to live here. So I actually used to come here every summer as a child to
Okay.
visit everyone. So, it wasn't a brand new place to me, but
Mhm.
very different to how it was as a child.
Fair enough. Now I have folks, what I usually do, make it a point not to rehearse with people who are my hot seat guests because I don't want to give a sense of a pre-format going on. But sometimes it's a challenge because by the time people come on my program, I've gotten to know a bit about them, as little as possible that I can get away with. But I understand when you came to this part of the country, Georgia, that you had told me, because how do I know Shani? This is again another disclaimer. My wife and I just moved to Georgia, and Shani was our realtor that showed us around and allowed us to find the house, discover the house that we're now in, which since the beginning of March. And so for our seasoned guests, yes, I've been an absentee to this platform since then. But enough about me. What I'm sharing about Shani is that you told me when you first came here, what was it that you did to learn the area?
I drove around. I drove and I drove and I just got in the car and I had good music on and I tackled different areas every day. I would
Hmm.
do Roswell and would lead me into, and I would just go. And sometimes I wouldn't even use my GPS. I would just
Okay.
drive and learn the back ends and the
Hmm.
back routes.
Okay. And you did that once you became a realtor. I'm not sure if I'm using the word correctly. That was this something you decided you need to do, you want to do, or how does that?
So okay. So again, just based off of the first part of what we spoke about earlier, I have a need to help people because
Hmm.
I love talking to people. I'm a people person. This is what I do.
Right.
And I've always wanted to get into real estate and I couldn't being in New York because it's New York. It's very different to how it is here. And I found
Hmm.
an opportunity that I can go get my license and get into real estate. And 2 months after getting licensed, I sold my first home.
Hmm.
And I just knew in that moment that this is what I want to do because I cannot even, I mean, there's so many stories that I can share with you at another time, but to
Hmm.
help people and to see them move into their home, especially folks that thought they could never buy a home.
Hmm.
And it's just, it's the most fulfilling feeling in the whole. I am completely and utterly fulfilled in my life
Okay.
by doing what I do.
Fair enough. Then I'm going, and I thank you for that. I'm going to suggest two things. One, I suspect, nothing taken away from you, but I suspect many realty agents might say the same thing. And for the consumer who's looking to buy in any industry, but including you, it's much more personal. Uh, House hunting, I would think, more than many items out there, and it can be very complex along with being very personal. So one of the challenges I think a consumer would have, a home buyer to be, is how do I choose a realtor? How do I know it's a good fit or not? I don't have an answer for that, but I do want to share some things about Shani that in our earlier talk might allow members of our audience to make a decision regarding who you are, the person. The reason I ask about what's your favorite pastime, I think it's more effective than saying, well, tell me about yourself. And most people will say how long they've done something, how good they are at it. But when I ask people what's their favorite pastime, it gives me a sense of that person's character, that motivation, their dedication. So what I'm hearing is a person that began a quest before she knew it and beginning it. And most people I know who travel a lot, who love to travel, rightfully so, love the differences, love the scenery, the different architecture, whatever it might be, all very good reasons. But the travel seems to be more geography specific than people specific. When you talked about going to that portion of South Africa, and I'm off on recall, that was a poorer part of the country. It was geography focused, but it was still people primarily, if I'm hearing you correctly, that took you there. And having said that, then you made it a point to learn about not just the environment around you, but to learn more about yourself. So you take what you do for personal growth, if I'm hearing you correctly also. And so what I see here is, since there's kind of a natural connection between being a realtor and being a growing, I think you're still on a quest, you just don't know it yet. Yeah. So you might still be that 21-year-old or 18-year-old persona, always developing more about who you are. And having said that, because she was our agent, and I'm not saying this as quote an endorsement, but as an observation, she was very much focused on learning about who we are. And by the way, this is for many agents. This is our third house we've bought. So it's not like this is a brand new experience for us. And each person's experience will be unique, but there are issues that came up that she took to heart on our behalf. And there is a period of Avatar for those who saw the movie, where the Earthling who was injured as this big Avatar thing was about to be attacked by the guy in the big machine, and the local lady who had been drawn to him stood crouched next to her and snarled at this big machine like, "Don't you dare try to hurt this guy any further." And I get that same sense about Shani. Am I off on that? Or
Absolutely not. I mean, I become a lioness when anyone, I'm just a protector.
Okay. So for people who are looking for homes, not sure how to go about it, that you like the style that Shani represents, that she's there more to make a living. She's there more to provide a warm place for herself, her husband, her daughter. She's there to do good by you, as I see it. Yeah. And not because she's necessarily a nice person or not. I can't attest to that one way or the other. Actually, she is. But having said that, what impressed me about her, this lady takes very seriously her role as being an advocate, not only an advocate, but a protector for what our interests are. And she does spend a lot of time learning about us as I see it. And I'm doing more of the talking more than you, but certainly part of my role here is to help discover somebody's, what I call an ingredient of their secret sauce. We're not going to give the whole buffet in one 30-minute session. No. But having said that, this is kind of the flavor that I get from you. Am I far off on that?
You are very close, but don't give away my secret sauce to everyone.
Okay, well, this is just this one ingredient. Well, the nice thing about secret sauces, we each have our own ingredient complexity. Yeah. And my role in this 30-minute time period is to discover one ingredient. And for those who are considering being guests, by all means, please reach out to me. No, it won't be a discover all or cure all, but for those who have further interest, reach out. And by the way, if I can do this in only 30 minutes of dialogue, I think what you can do in 3 or 4 months of your time. Wow. And to give you a competitive edge in your industry. But that's more of a commercial part of this. Oh, by the way, please remember to share your likes and dislikes. I forget the business side of what we're doing here. I have so much fun. If you have questions, comments, opinions, please reach out both to Shani or myself. Each of us are here for different reasons. If you'd like heightened awareness, if you'd like of yourself and of your market to you, please feel free to reach out and learn more about taking your hot seat challenge. But what I like about this particular experience is I also learn in asking. And to be honest with people, it's not so much Shani who's taking the hot seat, it's myself. Either I'm good at what I do or I'm not. So you guys and ladies out there, I say guys in a generic sense, any questions, comments, feedback, we do try to respond back to you. So Shani, I also expect or I anticipate that your journey is ongoing, your discovery is ongoing. That now I got to ask, you've said you've driven the area, you've defined your territory. Do you see yourself expanding out geographically, or
So
cycling? Go ahead.
so I'm only licensed in Georgia right
Right.
now.
Well, I mean, let me interrupt. I'm sorry to say area. I'm saying, do you have a niche of Atlanta that's your expertise? When I say Atlanta, the Georgia area, that's your expertise that you are settled in, or you poke at other experiences? How does that work as a consumer if I'm looking for a
So
place?
yeah, I mean, I'm highly experienced in the South Atlanta and North Atlanta area.
Mm-hmm.
If that helps, I can go through all the little,
No,
Marietta
that's
and kind of.
yeah. Well, people don't know the area, that won't make a sense of it. But certainly, if it's decently sized state, and I didn't know, I had this imagine that on an off day, maybe you don't have a client or prospect to work with you. And I said, geez, I've never been to that spot before. Let me see what's over there. Are you are you
Yeah,
that?
I absolutely drive around. When I go further out, it will be more of a family trip.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll take the family and we'll go an hour or 2 hours away and explore what's going on, way up north past Cartersville or way down south, and we'll explore as a family. I won't
Mm-hmm.
just take a 2-hour drive out by myself.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. I hear that. Well, I'm intrigued by your search. I make other notes. You made a comment that when it's about meeting people, and it's more than I'm hearing from you, it's more than a service. You made a comment about it's um, it's a hunger, it's a passion, it's a quest. That learning about people, in all fairness, if you looking to help somebody who's looking to buy a house, the house they choose to buy, aside from budget, perhaps, is the criteria is who they are, the people. Yes.
I mean, absolutely. It's not just about buying a house. When I help someone, I am being welcomed into their life. You
Mm-hmm.
are welcoming me into your personal life. And I take that as a huge responsibility. And of course, the process goes as it goes, but I have to learn who you are to help you get to the next step.
Here, yes, I hear that. And I'm going to suggest as an addendum, part of your sauce flavor, I think that would be likely a standard mantra of people in your industry. That you help people, you do good by them, it works well. But from you, I see it's also a passion. As you say, as you say, it's a quest that they must learn through life, is your self mantra. And so I think you poke that to your client base, that they must, whether they like it or not, they must also learn to some degree if they want to be able to make the best possible choice in the time that they have.
Absolutely.
So you're also always gaining an experience. You share some of that passion with your client base and allow them to be best informed possible to make a decision that they don't look up 2 days later and have buyer's remorse.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I always say an educated buyer is a smart buyer, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm here to do. And then I stick in a few little laughs in between, and we can also have fun while we're, shopping and doing something very serious.
Fair enough. I hear that. Well, folks, we're about 45 seconds away. Any final statement you'd like to make?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me in the hot seat this morning. It's always a pleasure to be chatting to you, whether it's over the phone or sort of face to face. And
Mm-hmm.
I am so grateful that we met. I mean, I just have no words to describe what a wonderful person you are, Joe. So
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you. See, people such as Shani make my life so much easier. And this is, for me, as much as I enjoy poking at people, in a similar manner, I enjoy learning back also. And I hope my audience has learned something, at least to be curious about yourself, learn more about yourself too. Thank you very much. And we're now signing off. Goodbye, everybody. And thanks for visiting us.
Thank you.